And
Pray for the weather forecast to be wrong. Yeah.
no, pray that the weather that God decrees comes. You know, it's don't like, you may not like cold weather, but it's part of what God gives us, and when He gives it to us, we need it. So, a good old snowstorm that melts slowly and soaks into the ground will help the water table. So, we just thank God that He knows what we need, and He supplies what we need when we need it. Though, it don't have to be as cold as it is right now. All right, so I got a question for you. How alert are you? Now, I'm on Carla. Always getting on to her. If it was a snake, it'd bite her. When she gets something on her mind, that's the only thing she's heading that direction. And if somebody walks up beside her, or she hadn't got a clue. And me, I watch around me. I may not know where I put something yet, but I watch around me to see what's coming. And we're told to be alert. God tells us we are to be alert. Not just going through the motions, not just heading down the highway, but we are to be aware of our surroundings. We're to be aware of what's going on. We're to be aware of the signs. And a lot of people today are not paying attention. Think about our world today. Everything in our world today is a distraction. Think about it. Everything, acquiring stuff to go in our homes, that distract us from paying attention to God. Because, hey, we got to pay for that. There's bills that we have to pay. Because most of us, we don't pay cash for stuff. We buy it on credit, then we got to pay it out over time. So that's a distraction. We come home at night. I don't have time to read my Bible. How much TV did you watch? How long was you on the computer? How long was you on your telephone? So, all the stuff that we have causes distractions. And God tells us to be alert. But Satan don't want us to be alert. Satan don't want us to be paying attention to what's going on around us. He wants us to be traveling the course, be going along with the herd. Not to be vocal, not to be speaking out. He wants us to forget what our purpose is. So he keeps us so busy that we don't remember what our purpose is. So this morning, I want to talk about us to be alert. So if you will, open your Bibles up to Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12, starting in verse 35. Luke chapter 12, verses 35, starting in 35. Now, these verses are talking about two types of servants. Okay? A faithful servant and an evil servant. What it's talking about. So let's start reading. Let your waist be girded and your lamps burning. Now let's stop right there for 1 second. Let your waist be girded. What that means is be ready. Have your clothes on and be prepared for action. Have your lamp on so you can see and not be stumbling around in the dark, stubbing your toes and tripping over stuff. So that's what he's talking about here. Be ready. Be prepared. Don't be caught off guard. And in verse 36, and you yourselves be like men who wait for their master when he will return from the wedding, that when he comes and knocks, they may open to him immediately. Blessed are those servants whom the master, when he comes, will find watching. Assuredly I say to you that he will gird himself and make them sit down to eat, and will come and serve them. And if he should come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. Now when he says second watch or third watch, you had three, the Jews divided the day up into three segments. 3 8-hour segments. The second watch is going to be the 8 hours after lunch, and the third watch is going to be the time at night. So basically he's saying, be ready all 24 hours. Be prepared to react. Be prepared to answer when called. Verse 39 goes on to say, but know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Be alert. Christ is coming back. These words are in red because these words are spoken about by Christ. He says right here, I'm coming. And there are going to be some that's not going to be expecting it because they're not going to be alert. They're not going to be ready for it. He's given us signs. He told us what it's going to be like when he returns. He also told us no one knows the exact time. Just be ready. Be prepared to go. So we're always be ready to serve. If we're serving, we're going to be alert. We're going to be watching for our master so we can attend to his needs. We are not to be asleep in the world. We're not to get so caught up in the world's distractions that we forget who we are. If we're going to be distracted with God. That's what our distraction should be. We should be distracted from the world instead of the other way around. We should have our mind, our thoughts on God. Because I want you to understand something. The world hates us, and the world wants us to fail. The world wants us to fail in our mission of going out and spreading the gospel. That's our service. That's what we're supposed to do. But the world lulls us to sleep. Think of a lullaby that you sung to a child. Why did you sing it to the child? To distract them from going to sleep. And then they went to sleep. So the world does the same thing. It distracts us. It gets us to looking at something else. It gets us to paying attention to something else. And it gets our mind off of who we are and what we're supposed to be doing. So we have to, as God's children, we have to be very careful of what we allow to distract us. We have to be I'm going to give you a case in point. I had a horse growing up. And he was he was a Welsh pony, been trained for barrel racing and worked cattle with. And I was riding him one day in the neighbor's pasture. And I was just having a good time. It was a beautiful spring day, perfect temperature, not too hot, not too cold. Just a great day to be riding. And I'm just sort of sitting in the saddle, not paying attention. Not even really paying attention to basically I done put the reins down and tied them around the horn blue buck, and he was just walking. And I wasn't paying any attention to what he was doing. And he decided that, hey, I'm in this pen. I must be in this fence to round these cattle up. And so he was just easing them all into a herd. I never even caught on what he was doing. And a calf shot out to the side, and when it did, he cut. And you can literally sit in the air for about 1/2 second before you hit the ground. And the look that horse gave me, I will never forget it. He stopped, and he turned around, and it was like, I'm embarrassed that you was riding me. But I'm going to tell you, I was distracted. I didn't see what the horse was doing, what Blue Buck was doing. I wasn't paying attention because I was distracted by the world. That's what we do with God. We're not paying attention to what God is doing because we've become distracted by the world. And we have to be very careful because God is telling us, don't be concerned with worldly affairs. God says you got a job. That's to serve me. That's to obey me. That's to follow me. That's to do what I tell you to do. Because I don't want you to be distracted by the world. I don't want you following the herd. I want you to be different. I want you to have different thoughts. I want you to do things differently from the world so they can see. I want you to study me. Think about this. If we studied God as much as we got on social media and as much as we got on TV, if we spent that amount of time studying God, would we be a better person today? Yes or no? Yes. So if you can say yes to that question, that means you're spending more time than you need to on social media and TV. We have time to study God. And if we're studying God, we're going to be alert for Him. We're going to be alert for His call to service. We're going to be alert to His coming. So we're to study Him. We're to be watchful. If we're studying Him, then we can be watchful for His commands. Obey Him. But you see, the world throws their distractions out there, and we don't hear the command. We're not paying attention to the signs. We're living life. And that's what God has called us out of living life. And He's called us into service. Living life just means we're walking through this life waiting to die. Pure and simple. Most of the people on this planet we're born, we die. They're just living life in between, waiting for death. But you see, God has called us out of that to eternity. We serve Him here, and we're going to serve in eternity. He's called us to a purpose. That's why we are to be alert, so that we can hear our Master's voice. When He comes knocking at the door, we can be there ready to open it up. He doesn't have to holler at us, throw a brick at us, or kick us in the rear end to see Him. Because we're seeking Him. We're watching for Him. Is He coming? Is that Him? Is that Him? Have you prepared everything ready? You see, if we're alert, we're preparing. We are the original preppers, people. We are the ones always prepared. You know, a lot of people say, well, if you're a Christian, you don't need to be preparing for anything. Why not? If you look back in history, have not Christians been persecuted where they couldn't buy food, where they couldn't have a job? Didn't people prepare for winter? Stockpile food? I can remember my grandmother, you opened the door up, and she had a pantry full of canned food. Probably had enough food in there to last a year or two. We are the original preppers. God says, prepare. Be ready. Be alert. Watch what's going on and prepare. Got an ice storm possibility coming in. Now you can either sit and wait and see what happens, or, like I did, I got out and I busted off the generator. Yep, it runs. I need some oil, so Carla picked that up last night. I went to town today. Now I got about 50 gallons of gas plus a full tank in the truck. You ain't going to get it out of the truck unless if it gets bad enough, I'll punch a hole in the gas tank, I guess. But prepared. We got food to eat. Got the heater, got the gas heater power light lit. So I'm watching the weather. I'm prepared for it. If it doesn't happen, guess what? Good trial run. I'm ready for the next one. But I'm prepared. And that's what we are to do as Christians in our life. We are to prepare for whatever events come by being alert, studying God's Word, and following His command. So that when He speaks, I can hear His voice. When He speaks, I can obey His commands. Don't get distracted by what's going on in this world and what the world has to offer, because I'm going to tell you what, not a bit of that's going to go with you to heaven. Day I die, all my toys that I have are no longer mine. Carl ain't going to ride side by side because she won't get in and drive it now. So one of the boys will get that. She ain't going to be shooting none of my guns. So some of the boys are going to get that. What I'm trying to say is, what I have here on earth, what I enjoy here on earth, my woodworking tools and all that, When I die, they're not going with me. They are a distraction. If I allow them to consume me and distract me from what I am supposed to do, they are a worldly distraction that keeps me from doing what God has called me to do. We are to be alert. We are to be watching for His return. We are to be paying attention. We are to prepare for His return. What's this whole verse right here? Be watching for the Master's return. Be ready to answer the door. If you're ready to answer the door, if you answer the door before He knocks, you're watchful. He's going to gird Himself, and He's going to serve us, not the other way around. Because He's going to be glad that He has servants that are so prepared. So how do we prepare for His return? Study His Word. Get rid of the distractions that the world has and get into His Word. Be distracted by God. Get into His Word. Pray. Talk with Him. You know, that's something we lose the ability of. People will text each other sitting beside each other, instead of turning around and saying, hey, you know what? I like communication. I tell Carla, tell Kristen something. She'll pick the phone up. Oh, yeah, she's she's texting. Texting away. Why did that phone just go black? Okay. But she's texting. No, Carla, call her. She don't want to call her, because she texts. We're losing the ability to communicate with people with our mouth. We're raising a nation of mutes. They don't even have conversation with their own family unless they're texting. We're not preparing. We need to seek His return. We need to be watching for the signs, and we need to be prepared for His return. And you know what? When we're watching for signs, you know what we're saying? We believe You, Jesus. We believe that You are coming back. I believe what You say. So I'm going to prepare by watching for You. I'm going to do as You say in Your Word. I'm going to follow Your command. I'm going to watch for Your return. I'm going to be ready when You knock at the door. I'm not going to be caught off guard. Remember the wedding? You had 5 that were ready, 5 that weren't. And those that weren't got left behind. I want to be the one that's prepared, that's ready, that's gone out and filled my oil, which I got to do today. Okay? But we're also to warn others. What is a watcher? He is someone who watches to see the enemy approaching, and then he warns the community. Get ready. Get prepared. They're coming. We need to warn non-believers. Whether they want to hear it or not, it's our job, our duty to warn them. After that, it's up to them. But that's one of our jobs. So we need to warn believers. There are people who come to church who listen to preachers that never preaches about Christ's return. They don't believe or understand Christ's return. We need to warn them. We need to tell them. We need to obey His call. What He's told us to do. That's our job as a servant. And those of us that's been in the military, we understand what the next call to order is. We are to be ready at all times. Not just on Sunday and not just on Wednesday, but we are to be ready 24/7 all year long until the day we die. We need to be ready at all times. Like the Minutemen, we need to be prepared. We need to be ready to go. Because you know what He told us? I'm coming back. But no one knows the time. No one knows the exact day, the exact hour, the exact minute but God. Now, I fully believe Jesus is standing on the veranda, waiting to go. And the moment He hears His Father's words, go get your children, go get your bride, He's gone. He's just waiting for, oh my, God's command. That's what He's waiting for, so He can obey God's command. That's how we are to be. We are to be on the edge of our seat, waiting for the coach to call us in. You playing football, you sitting on the bench. Now I've seen this happen. Kid sitting on the bench, his helmet's all the way down there. So-and-so, get in there. Where's my helmet at? Ain't got time for that, son. Get somebody else. Then I've seen the kid sitting on the bench, his helmet's already on his head, and he's already buckled up. So-and-so, get in. He's out there. That's what we are to be ready for. When we're called, we're not scrambling around looking for what we need. We're called to be alert. I've seen kids sitting on the bench complaining about not being able to play when the coach calls their name. They don't even hear it because they're too busy complaining. They're not alert. They never know they've been called. We need to be alert. We're called to wait for Him. And when we're waiting for Him, we're to be ready for His return at any moment. A servant is waiting for the master to return home, to open the door up to him, to provide him something to drink, to take his shoes, take his coat. He's not back off in his bedroom taking a nap. Master comes in, opens his own door. No, he's there ready and waiting for his masters to return. You know, there's work for us still to do. That's why we're to seek Him. There's plenty for us to do out there, and don't let the world stop you. Don't let the world distract you and causes you to forget what your purpose is in life. Go out there and get it. And next thing is, do not give up because He hasn't returned yet. Oh, well, it's been over 2,000 years. If He ain't come back by now, He ain't coming back. Have you heard that? That person has given up. That person says, I don't believe what Jesus says. And if you don't believe that Jesus said he was going to return, then you don't believe in your salvation. You're still lost as a goose. If we believe that we were saved, then we got to believe that very same Savior who said, I'm going to save you, also said, I'm coming back for you. Don't believe that, there's no purpose in salvation. There's no truth in salvation because Jesus told a lie. So we need to not let the world convince us that he hasn't come back yet. He ain't coming back. He's coming back. Our job is to wait on him with expectation. That's our job. Just like this weekend. See, God gives me a lot of good stuff to go in my sermon. We're waiting with the expectation of what the weather's going to do. Anna said they went to the grocery store this morning before church. What all wasn't in there, Anna, now?
There was no bread.
No bread.
Hardly any bread. People are going after all the juices. So no juice. No sugary sodas. I mean, the non-essential was gone.
So people are wiping out,
Just nonsense.
the grocery store. We need to wait with expectation. We need to prepare what we need. We need to get the essentials. We need to get the food and the stuff we're going to need to go through that, to make it through it. We need to be ready. And believers who are waiting, who are watching, who are seeking, who are preparing and working will be blessed. How will I be blessed? Because I know he's going to return. I know that everything I'm doing is not in vain. Man, that gas I bought, really it's not in vain because I ain't put it in my pickup truck. But all the other stuff, buying food and buying toilet paper and paper towels and all that, that's in vain if the ice storm don't show up. I mean, there are people today still using toilet paper and paper towels from COVID. Okay? I guess that's not in vain either. But it's going to take a while to use it. Okay? I will be blessed because I will be prepared. When Christ returns, I will be ready and I won't be caught unaware. I'll be ready to take that step. I'll be blessed. God wants to bless us. Oftentimes we get in the way of the blessing because we're not prepared. What does it says here? Therefore you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Live your life expecting the hour to occur at any moment. That's what God has called us to do. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to be able to stand before him one day and say, well, Brother David didn't tell me. You just got told. Not going to answer for that one. God told us to be ready and be prepared. Don't be distracted by all the stuff going around. I wonder how many people in America today got distracted by the cold weather, and said, I'm staying home. But they went to the grocery store to get bread and milk. Be ready. Be prepared. Serve God. That's my prayer for you this week. What are we singing?
Wherever he leads us.
Wherever He leads, I will go. You know, if we'll just live by that mantra,